Welcome into the television version of Strategies for a Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. I'm delighted that you've tuned in and joined with me today here on Strategies for a Living. Well, we're all about helping us live healthier, happier, and more peaceful lives in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits, in our relationships here in the 21st century. We do that by engaging in important conversations with life strategists. Each and every time we do Strategies for Living, we'll go any place to get a life strategist, even to the fire department, even to EMTs, and even to my nephew, Christopher McMillan, C.S. McMillan. I am so proud of him. He has written not only his first book, Dark of the Mind, but now his second book, Gray Matter. And he's working on his third book. Chris, C.S., welcome. Welcome to Strategies for a Living. It's your cue, Chris.
It's what?
It's your cue. Welcome. How you
Thank
doing?
you.
Now,
I'm doing good.
you were raised up here right in Shreveport, Louisiana. As a matter of fact, you know, a gentleman that was a life strategist here a couple of weeks ago mentioned you back when you were with the fire department here. And I don't know if you remember Darrell Tuberville or not.
I do.
And Darrell mentioned that he fondly remembered you and knew you well. And we were talking about his book, and I caught him up on your books. I'm really proud of you, Chris. Captain Shreve, what year did you graduate, Captain Shreve?
94.
1994 graduate of Captain Shreve High School. Did you ever think that you were going to write a book one day? In your wildest dreams? Did you?
Oh, maybe the deep dreams. I don't know. I don't recall anything from younger age.
So,
or in high school.
You are you're now in Florida and still doing EMT work, right?
I am. I'm a paramedic here.
What's the difference? What's the difference between an EMT and a paramedic?
Oh, it's just a more advanced.
Okay, paramedic is more. It's more specialized, more advanced training.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, all of this started when you decided to go and take a writing course, right?
It did. I took a creative writing course when I got here in Florida. I was taking some other classes along. Kind of wanted to do for a little while.
Had you ever fancied yourself as a novel writer, Chris? And I got to tell you, folks, he's my nephew, but these books are good. I lost some sleep. I couldn't put down either one of them, but I especially could not put down Dark of the Mind, Chris.
Thank you.
So I will never forget that phone call when you called me and told me, Uncle David, I'm writing a book. You blew me away in such a good way, and I'm proud of you. And it's a good book. It follows, it's set in Dallas, Texas, and you follow a fictional character who is also a paramedic, right?
Correct. The protagonist of the paramedic.
You're going to use all those. You're going to use all those fancy writing words now, huh?
Story, but because of stuff, I didn't have to do. I did research, but had to do tons. Your
protagonist is Trike. That right?
I don't know what just happened.
There we go. Let's hope we've got him back now. We've lost him momentarily. There he is. Okay. Hello again, Chris. Okay, so your protagonist is named Trike. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's Trike Harper is his name.
All right, and Trike has a bit of an unusual hobby. Could we say that?
Avocation, of course.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll give you a brief synopsis. So he starts when he's young. He sees his sister die, and he becomes infatuated with the human soul, and see if it exists. He witnesses what he thinks is her soul leaving her body.
Right.
And he becomes obsessed, and that's where he joins he becomes a paramedic. That's what he wants to do. He thinks he can see the soul. He thinks that's the closest, that's the place to find death, let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's a little, that's what that brings to mind the title of the book, Dark of the Mind.
Yes.
Because of his dark obsession in the beginning, that progressively changes throughout the trilogy.
We should also mention that the cover art of these books, your first book, Dark of the Mind, your second book, Gray Matter, the covers are done by your sister, my niece, Angela, right? And so, I don't know, I didn't know we had this much talent in the family.
Well, thank you for the compliment. I don't know if you call it talent. But yeah, we put forth a lot of effort into it, and she helped a lot along the way, put forth many long nights of trying to get it where I wanted it.
And you're working now, we mentioned, on the completion of the trilogy of the Dark of the Mind series, right?
Yes. When I first started the book, I wanted to do it. I didn't know how long it was going to be.
Right.
I knew there was going to be a second part to it, but I kind of got myself involved in a trilogy for my first novel, and it was very time consuming. Let's put it that way. And I couldn't just stop on the second one, so I kind of had to finish it with the trilogy.
How long did it take you from the time that you decided, I'm going to self-publish my book, I'm going to write the Dark of the Mind? How long did it take you from start to completion, Chris?
On the first book?
Yes.
About a year, I would say. A little over a year. Somewhere around that time frame.
Writing and rewriting and editing. And
yeah, because I rewrote it probably 10 times. Not the front to back, but just rewriting chapters along the way and going over it and getting my wife to read it, you to read it, some other friends of mine to read it, and then from there, finally, send it to a professional editor to.
All right, so let's tease just a little bit. So, our hero, our dark hero Trike,
right.
He's on the streets as a paramedic in Dallas, and takes his the old abandoned grocery store that his father used to run. It's now an abandoned building, and he sets up a lab in the grocery store, right?
Right. He becomes, I guess you could say, frustrated. That's a mild word, but with the violence and stuff on the streets, and he becomes frustrated with not being able to see the soul, what his initial goal was, and
so he's going to kill two birds with one stone here, right? He's
yes.
going to take some of those folks off the streets, some of those bad folks. He makes these runs, and there's folks that he knows are abusive. There's folks that he knows are kidnappers. There's folks that he knows are murderers because he's on the streets with them.
Right. They very arrogantly call him or call 911.
Right.
To treat the people that they've murdered or killed or abused or raped or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then he has to kind of watch them get away as he takes their victims to the hospital.
Until he decides that, wait a minute, there's another way and we can kill a couple of birds with one stone. He sets up this experiment to not only take some of these folks off the street, but also, as he's dealing with them, let's say that, he is doing an experiment. Can you see the soul of the human body leave as it's departing the body for its last time?
Correct. Not to give too much away, but throughout the trilogy, you were wondering, as he finds different things out about his family and his own history that he didn't know about, you kind of wonder throughout the trilogy if he's actually seeing things or if he's hearing things or if these things are actually real throughout the book, and the mental illness with his family and different things like that.
Right. Well, in our family, we know your father's condition, but that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother show, right?
Right, of course.
He'll love it when he sees this, and he'll call both you and I names, but we'll let that go. You may have heard the phone ringing just a second ago. That was him. He was trying to call in. I don't know. So he made the program one way or another. He'll be proud. Now, Chris, is it hard to get a book published? Is it hard to publish a book?
To get it where I think it needs to be, to compete with others, I think it's a task. But at the same time, I think any of us can do it, with a little perseverance.
It's never been easier and I have high hopes for you. I think you're a great writer. I think I think these first books are excellent. They're page turners. I couldn't put them down. The characters, both in Dark of the Mind and in Gray Matter, I wanted to know. I didn't want to stop reading because I want to know what Trike is going to do next. I want to know what our detective friend is going to do next. I want to know how Trike and the girl are going to play out.
Right.
We've got some compelling characters here. And in the background, Trike is getting to know his deceased father, right? Finding some stuff out that maybe he didn't know about, as you said, family history.
Yeah, the book starts out where his dad's already passed away in the beginning of the book throughout the trilogy. So what he uncovers and for him to find, and then other stuff that he wasn't intended to find or his father never knew about.
Right.
And that's kind of the mystery throughout the trilogy.
Right. We're talking to C.S. McMillan today. The book is Dark of the Mind. His second book is Gray Matter. The third one's on the way. But in the meantime, you got to start reading C.S. McMillan and the first two books in the trilogy. We will be back with C.S. McMillan and talk more about book publishing. Have you got a book in you? I think I got one or two in me. We'll get Chris's ideas on that when we come back. Stay with us. More Strategies for Living to come. Okay.
From the time I was born, I was in a theatrical family, and now I'm dean of the division and pretty much the director of the theater aspects.
I love that people come to theater to experience the pain and tragedy and joy of other people's lives. I think that's kind of a beautiful thing. It's a release.
The whole experience of being on stage, it's scary, but I think it's kind of worth it because you get this adrenaline rush, you get all these emotions that you don't get to feel every day.
I haven't found a similar experience quite like it yet. It comes to a point where everything around me is real.
The theater is the one art form that encompasses all art forms. It's not about the final product other than the experience that happens when it happens.
As a student, you learn like every aspect of theater. You learn costuming, you learn lighting, you're building sets every day, and you're in makeup class, and you also, take directing and acting. You do it all.
The hardest thing for some students to grasp is the language that they're dealing with, and you have to help them along. So when I find a student who has a lot of talent but needs some encouragement in other areas, that's the ones I really enjoy working with the most, I think.
Well, the faculty and staff at Bossier Parish Community College is absolutely fantastic. They wish they could keep you forever and they love you and all that, but they want you to spread your wings and fly, and they are seriously preparing you for that.
We're looking to increase our audience development, which will bring in more people to see how wonderful our students are and how many opportunities that we can give them. Also giving the experience to the students that they need so they can get out of here with their degree and get a job.
I don't know why my son would ruin himself with alcohol. Breaks my heart. I don't understand why this is happening. My therapist recommended Al-Anon family groups. I didn't want to go to Al-Anon, but I'm glad I went. If someone's drinking breaking your heart, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
I'm a wife.
A sister.
And a grandfather.
I'm an office clerk.
I'm a research analyst.
Dance fitness instructor.
Actor.
I'm a copywriter.
I'm a veteran.
I have lupus.
Cerebral palsy.
I'm blind.
And I'm working in a job I love.
I love.
Because I was given a chance
To contribute my skills and talents.
To show that my disability
is only one part of who I am.
Who I am.
Who I am.
At work, it's what people can do that matters.
For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
And welcome back into the television version of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. Obviously, you're watching Strategies for Living, but you know you can listen to Strategies for Living. We're on News Radio 710 Keel, where we started 24 years ago. Still there, 9:05 to 10 every Sunday morning. We're also on HealthyLife.net on Thursdays, HealthyLife.net out of Los Angeles, and you can find us at www.strategiesforliving.com. Today, C.S. McMillan. I'm so proud of him. He's my nephew. He has written his first book, his second book, and working on the third book. The first book is Dark of the Mind. Second book is Gray Matter. Now, you can look him up on Goodreads.com. His books are exclusively available at Amazon.com, but you can get there through Goodreads. He's got an author's page there. You can find out a lot of feedback. It was so exciting, Chris, when you launched the first book, Dark of the Mind, and you were on Keel, on my Keel radio program, and you were on HealthyLife.net. And you did offer a special, but there's something like 1,500 books got downloaded in those first few days. That had to be exciting for you.
It was, yes, it was. It was very nerve-wracking, when you put it that way. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And so it was exhilarating and nerve-wracking at the same time.
Lots of new experiences for you. How important was it for family support, your wife's support? This has been a family thing. We mentioned Angela, your sister. How important was the family support that you got?
I think
Go ahead, Chris. Okay, we've got a little bit of an internet connection problem, folks.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
My name is Jessica Ingram. I go to Bossier Parish Community College, and I'm a fine art photography major. I decided to go to BIPSI because they have the mass communication program that I wanted, and also it's very affordable. BIPSI offers a bunch of stuff for their mass communication department. I chose photography because it is my favorite art form and I want to make a career out of it. Bossier Parish Community College has a studio.
And we're back. Modern technology. C.S. McMillan with us today with a poor internet connection. You poor guys in Florida, you know how you are. Everything is. You need to come back to Louisiana, to Tiger Country. You know, you're in Gator Country, and we all know about that, right?
Right.
Right. All right. So, how important was the family support, Chris?
Very important. Without that, I don't think I could have done most anything.
Your wife had to definitely go along with this. How many hours did you spend closed up in front of your laptop? And how many times how many manuscripts and rewrites did she read?
Many.
Yeah.
I probably bothered her more than I was supposed to.
Yeah.
It was a struggle, let's put it that way. And then when the baby came with this last one, it's been a task, let's put it that way.
Now, by the same token, got to be proud of you for how many for a new author. Again, you've done some giveaway things on Amazon, and you can get the books on Amazon.com. You can find C.S. McMillan on, and don't forget it's McMillian, just like my name. There's a reason for that. But how many books so far between the printed books, because you can get these books printed and maybe even signed by the authors like mine, or you can download them in ebook form. But how many printed books and ebooks have been downloaded and sold so far, Chris?
Oh gosh, with the free stuff in the beginning, I don't have exact numbers on it, but a few thousand.
Yeah, a few thousand, which is excellent for a new author, because you came out of nobody knew who C.S. McMillan was for good reason. You hadn't written a book before, and so to have several thousand of your books out there, what does that feel like? What does that feel like to you?
It's scary. Let's put it that way. It's surreal.
Yeah.
You get comments back and forth.
What kind of comments have you heard about Dark of the Mind and Gray Matter?
Mostly good. You're always going to have a negative with the good. That's just part of it, and that's the. Who
are people comparing you to? What authors have they compared you to so far?
I haven't heard really many comparisons, actually. I don't know. I haven't had many. So I think I'm still too new at this to really compare anything. Maybe I don't know, honestly. No one's really told me that.
Again, this is fiction, but there's a lot of, and again, it's complete fiction. I doubt if there's paramedics doing some of the things that Trike does, but maybe. But by the same time, these characters are real. We get into their minds. We get into the minds of your characters. When you finish writing Dark of the Mind, when you finish writing Gray Matter, in between the books, do you miss your characters?
I do. I haven't. You get kind of, because it's written in first person, and I'm writing it from Trike's perspective the whole time. It gets a little real sometimes when you're writing, so I have to kind of back off. Kind of look at things and go, I got to put this aside for a day or two.
Yeah.
Because he does some pretty sinister things, even though they're done to bad people. He still does some things that
he does some sinister things, but there's a certain karmic payback that we can, we've already teased a little bit, but the book goes into a lot of karma stuff. Would you say that? Again, this is fiction, but it's also real life. You put a lot of your own experiences, the day-to-day. You write some about the mundane, in between the excitement and the adrenaline rushes of calls. And that's real life, whether you're sitting in the back of an ambulance or whether you're in an emergency room or in a fire station or a police station. We depend on first responders. And you give the stories and tell the stories in a very compelling way. So thank you for that.
That was important to me to do that. I think that was, helped me remember things and helped me kind of let things go a little bit, because you see a lot of dark stuff on the streets. And a lot of the whole book was relationship based.
Yes. Yes.
Throughout you follow his thing, his life, and you find his difficulty with relationships as kind of the underlying point of the book.
So, in closing, Chris, one piece of advice that you'd give if we have viewers out there that are saying, I got a book in me, what's the one piece of advice that you've learned so far from these first two books?
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Stick-to-itiveness.
Stay with it. You got to keep doing what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Don't give up.
Keep the dream alive. All right, folks. Dark of the Mind is the first book. C.S. McMillan. Gray Matter is the second book. And the third book already titled, what's it called?
Scar Tissue.
Scar Tissue will complete the trilogy. It'll be ready in about 3 weeks. C.S. McMillan, you can find him at goodreads.com. You can also find him at amazon.com. Chris, thank you so much for being our life strategist today on Strategies for Living. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. If you enjoyed our conversation today with C.S. McMillan, well, know we do conversations like this each and every time we do Strategies for Living, so come back and join us often. Tell your friends. That's the way we grow here on Strategies for Living and strategiesforliving.com. For C.S. McMillan, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time here on Strategies for Living.